To another episode of the crazy world of cyber compliance, threats, attacks, oh my. Cyber criminals beware, there's a new bird in town taking a BYTE out of you. Every episode, your host Michele Novack breaks down the latest cyber threats, attacks, and compliance shakeups happening right now. From ransomware to phishing schemes, we keep it real, keep it current, and yes, we keep it fun. So buckle up, because in this world, the cardinal always wins.
Welcome everyone to the crazy world of cyber compliance. I'm your host, Michele Novack. Let me just start off with saying today, every time I tell somebody that I do this podcast, they always say, oh, it's so boring. What do you talk about? Well, they're absolutely right. There's nothing fascinating about cybersecurity and compliance in a business, no matter what you say. But, let's start with an uncomfortable truth, right? If your business brings in under $25 million a year, you're standing directly in the crosshairs of federal regulators. My last episode, I talked about the new changes with the IRS and the ETAAC and the requirements for the PTIN and FTIN, right? Like, we know that these things are going to change this year. So you probably have no idea what's really happening. And that's why I'm doing this show, right? Most business owners think compliance is boring. It's an IT problem. They don't really get it. But the truth of the matter is cybersecurity compliance is the baseline for everything. If you don't have compliance in place, the check marks, the processes, the know-with-all, you're losing everything else. It doesn't matter what systems you put in place. It doesn't matter what monitoring you have. It's the people and it's the compliance, it's the protocols, it's the processes that they follow that matter the most, right? I have an IT guy. I hear it all the time. We have antivirus. We're fine. Well, if an auditor walks in today, would you be fine? Would you be able to provide them with all the documentation they need? If they ask for an access log, are you going to have it? If they want to see your cybersecurity posture and your risk assessment, are you going to have it? Are you going to have your roadmap? Are you going to be able to show remediation? These are the things that are real in the compliance world. And those of us that have not been audited probably don't realize that. But those of us that have been audited know really well what it's all about. So today we're going to break down the modern compliance that officially has you gone crazy, right? We're going to look at three heavy hitters: the IRS Publication 4557, the FTC Safeguard Rule, and the absolute Wild West of your employees copying and pasting client data into ChatGPT. So grab your coffee, lock down your data, and let's dive in. So let's talk about the triple threat here. Number one, 4557. This I call the CPA and tax firm trap, right? The reality is it's not just a recommendation. It's a legal mandate, and anyone handling taxpayer data has to do what it says. Unfortunately, one of the biggest things it requires is a written information security plan. So if you are a one-person shop or you're a mid-sized company, your firm legally needs a WISP, an active one right now. And I do a lot of training about what a WISP is. I see when I go into my clients, they have some type of documentation, some type of WISP ready, but it doesn't have all the facts. It's not current. It doesn't meet the Security 6. It doesn't meet the FTC guidelines on what needs to be in there, right? It's always missing an element or a few. It doesn't map out all of your sensitive data. It doesn't map out what you're doing with a breach. It has to have an extensive segment in there for compliance. It should have and map out policies that are intricate to your environment. So if you're a solopreneur, it's going to be a lot less. But if you're a mid-sized enterprise or you have several employees, it's going to be a lot more. And stop downloading templates. Yeah, sure, go to the IRS. The IRS gives you a great list template. They update it regularly. They give you a baseline. But I'm going to tell you right now, if an auditor walks in and they see the exact same template, they're going to know that all you did was copy and paste. And that's not going to fly with them because that doesn't tell them governance. It doesn't tell them that you're doing what you are required to do. This is about governance. It's no longer handing them over a piece of paper. It's about saying and doing what you say you're going to do, especially around cybersecurity. And that's why the ETAAC just put a mandate on the IRS, right, to change how they validate your PTIN and your EFIN. So in the future, and I talked about this last week, they're going to probably require you to upload your WISP and proof of your risk assessment this year when you go to certify in December. And I'm going to tell you, if it's not crispy clean, we all know what they're looking for. And maybe they'll give you credit for partially being done or an attempt to being done. But if it doesn't meet their standards, you can be sure that the one thing that's going to come out of it is either a fine or a violation or even temporary suspension of your PTIN or EFIN to practice. So, and I don't say this lightly, and this is why I do this podcast. If you get a chance to listen to it, and I hope this falls on the ears of those that need to listen to it, it's so important that you have something in place and that it meets requirements. Ping me, ping another company, go back to your IT team, go back to your, whoever is heading your cybersecurity unit, make sure it's right. Because if you are a business owner, they don't care about who put it together. They care that you've looked at it, you as an owner, understand it, and you're following that process that you stated that's inside of it. Let's talk about the second threat, FTC safeguard rules, the non-bank net, right? Technically, I get a lot of CPAs to say I'm not a financial institution. It doesn't matter. When they updated the GLBA, the FTC automatically and the IRS updated their criteria and mandates along with it. And although you're not a direct financial institution, because you handle privacy and private data of your company, it makes you a financial institution under the rules and regulations, right? The FTC expanded this rule, right? And the reality is it caught everyone off guard. It doesn't have to be massive, right? You don't have to be a Wall Street bank. It hits auto dealerships, mortgage brokers, payday lenders, niche financial services again. It's hitting a lot of different things. And it's so important that you understand what it means, right? In the fine print, it says it's mandating that you encrypt access control, continuous vulnerability tracking, and vetted supply chains. That was the biggest change that happened, late last year. I've been talking about it, vetting your third-party vendors. So let's dive into a little bit about what it means to vet your third-party vendors. Most people are struggling with this right now. I just did a class on it. I'm going to do another free class, web class this Thursday. Join me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever social media you attend, right? Because this is the newest change, and a lot of people, a lot of my clients are asking me, what do we need? How do we get vetted? What if they walk in tomorrow? This carries a fine of $50,000 or more if you're not ready. And I want that to land and sit hard with you because vetting your third party now has become your responsibility. Your vendors and the way they handle your data has become your responsibility. I want you to listen to me. Your vendors and the way they handle your data becomes your responsibility. And that is the scary part here, right? So what does that mean to you? That means, in layman's terms, you need to find out if your vendor is compliant and keeping your data safe and protected from a breach. That's what it means. And how do you do that? Well, you need to go get their SOC 2 Type 2 report at minimum. You need to make sure that you have a DPA with them. And those are the two major things, right? Look at their contract. You need to make sure that you vetted that vendor. You need to apply a risk score. And I'm just going through the high overview, but these are the top things that you need. You need to take a look at your contract to make sure that you understand their SLA if they get breached. And what I mean is, how fast do they tell you that they've been breached and notify you? It should be no longer than 72 hours. And the only way you're going to find that out is in their contract or in their service, terms of service, or terms and conditions. It could be anywhere. Most of these big organizations that you're using, like your Drakes, your Microsoft, your Google, you could go right on their website. You can, Google itself, their privacy, their SOC 2 report. Most of them have pages set up so you can download this information and have easy accessibility. But you got to know what you're looking for. You got to understand what you're reading in that report, right? You have to understand what to look for, because you're not going to go want to read a 70-page SOC report, or if not more. There's a certain segment, there's certain things, there's certain elements, and we teach you that, right? So if you're not aware, though, talk to Google. Google, ChatGPT, whatever one you want to use, it'll walk you through it. But again, DIYing it, you're putting yourself at risk. But you need to set yourself up a baseline. And then, that's it, right? So let's talk about the third threat, the ChatGPT Wild West. The reality is employees are trying to be efficient, so I never bash an employee, right? They're doing their best. In today's world, when we're asking them to output more with less people, it's fair, right? They take a complex client's financial profile or medical bill, paste it into an unsecure AI prompt, and ask it to summarize it in a spreadsheet or give its calculations. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't know the differences in the LLMs, the AI tools that they're using, and they don't understand how it learns. Some of the free tools is taking that information and putting it out to the internet, which a lot of people don't know. If you're not paying for a paid version of those tools or a business version, then it's learning from you, it's saving that information, and it's generally data leakage, is what we call it, putting that information out there. And the IRS, the FTC, all the auditors now are looking for data leakage. They're testing the way you use these tools. They're testing the way your employees use these tools. They want to see what you're exposing, right? It's all about data and privacy. So if you put your information, right, and you copied a medical bill or whatever it might be, you just leaked protected HIPAA health information or non-public personal information under the GLBA or FTC into a public LLM database. You violated federal safeguards without a single hacker breach or a firewall problem. So I want you to put that in perspective. You need to understand the impacts of not only what you do, and we call this shadow IT, right? Shadow IT is when an employee are using tools, downloading, tools like a converter, Microsoft to Word, whatever it might be. They don't understand how these tools take this data and save it. And they may not even be a vetted vendor of yours. And that's a bigger problem. So you need to have, again, accountability into what your team, and even if you're a solopreneur, but what your team is doing. And if you have an IT team and you're one of the lucky ones who have those resources that have people working for you, whether it's a virtual CISO, in place, in-house, external, you need to ask them and verify and tell them to show me. You need to put in your security posture a meeting monthly and have real conversations, not just a report, because I've been in those boardrooms and they're boring. They're boring. You want to understand what's really happening, boots on the ground, especially as a small business owner, right? So, let's talk about the enterprise myth here, right? When I was managing risk in an internal audit at one of the big predecessory banks, we had millions of dollars of entire armies of engineers dedicated to compliance. Small and mid-sized markets don't have that. But guess what? Regulators are starting to hold you to the same standards, which is scary. Okay? For a multi-billion dollar bank, a $100,000 fine is a rounding error. Okay? For anyone under 25 million mid-market, a single compliance fine or data breach is fatal. It can put you out of business. It's going to cost you a lot. So, find someone who can help you. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't think you know it all. Don't think you got it. Have a second look. Set up second guardrails. Reach out to me, right? I'm always happy to do a free risk assessment and a free second look. Use my tool to get it's literally 5 minutes. You can download it right on my website. You don't even have to download it. You take it, you answer a couple of questions. It's going to give you immediate insight to where you stand. It's a risk scoring tool. It'll give you a baseline. That's what you need. You need to know your baseline if you haven't got one. You need to understand where you stand, the things you need to fix, the things you need to implement. You need to prioritize those things. I talk about this all the time. We don't believe in giving you another complex software dashboard to stare at. That's not what this is all about. You don't have time to be a cybersecurity engineer. Although, right now, the IRS is saying you are that person. You have a business to run. So here's how we fix it, right? We deploy and drop in a lightweight GRC tool into your tech stack. No heavy lifting, right? Our platform automatically maps and actually real-time IT controls against the IRS, FTC, HIPAA, and NIST criteria. And then when regulators or a massive enterprise client demands proof of your security, you don't have to panic for 3 weeks trying to gather paperwork, trying to figure out how to put it together. You pull an immutable, audit-ready risk register from our platform in minutes. So, again, compliance is crazy, but surviving it doesn't have to be. And that's what I always say. Don't wait for an order letter to find out where your holes are. Head over to the compliance at cardinalbites.com right now. If you want to see exactly how your current system maps against these federal mandates, click on Compliance Partner link to book a quick 15-minute, no pressure diagnostic call, and we'll be there to help you. So let's get back to doing our business today, and thank you for joining the crazy world of cyber compliance with Michele Novack.